The plasma storm struck without warning, turning the night sky above the Nevada desert into a writhing mass of electric fury. Zara Velthani gripped the controls of her sleek reconnaissance vessel as warning alarms shrieked through the cramped cockpit. Her violet eyes, adapted for the twin suns of Nexera, strained against the chaotic light display that danced across her ship's hull. "Not now," she whispered in her native tongue, fingers dancing across holographic controls that flickered with each electromagnetic pulse. This was supposed to be a routine observation mission, her third month monitoring the military installation below. The humans had been developing something interesting in their underground laboratories, and the Nexeran High Council wanted to know what. The ship bucked violently as another wave of charged particles slammed into its deflector shields. Zara's training kicked in as she fought to maintain altitude, but the ancient navigation systems of her stealth craft weren't designed for this level of interference. Sparks erupted from the console as the main stabilizers failed, and she felt the sickening sensation of free fall. The impact sent shockwaves through the desert floor, her ship carving a deep furrow in the sand before coming to rest behind a cluster of weathered rock formations. Zara remained motionless for several heartbeats, conducting a mental inventory of her condition. Her pale lavender skin bore several scrapes, and her silver-white hair had escaped its functional braid, but she was alive. More importantly, her ship's emergency beacon hadn't activated, maintaining the secrecy of her mission. Steam hissed from the damaged engine compartments as Zara extracted herself from the wreckage. Her enhanced night vision revealed the extent of the damage immediately. The quantum drive was cracked, leaking vital coolant fluid that glowed faintly blue in the darkness. The communication array had been completely severed, its crystalline components scattered across the crash site like fallen stars. In the distance, the military facility's lights blazed against the storm-darkened horizon. Fortress Meridian, the humans called it, though Zara knew it by its classified designation from intercepted transmissions. The base's angular structures and defensive positions were as familiar to her as her own homeworld cities, having observed them for months from orbit. But now, stranded and vulnerable, those same buildings represented her only hope for finding the rare Earth elements needed to repair her ship's communication systems. Her people's technology relied on specific mineral compositions that, fortunately, seemed abundant in human industrial facilities. Zara activated her suit's adaptive camouflage, watching as the smart fabric shifted to match the desert's muted colors. Her slender frame and natural agility had always served her well in reconnaissance work, allowing her to move through hostile environments undetected. Tonight, those skills would be tested more thoroughly than ever before. The facility's outer perimeter was less defended than she had expected. The storm had forced most of the human guards to seek shelter, leaving only automated sensors to patrol the fence line. Zara's advanced understanding of electromagnetic fields allowed her to identify and avoid the detection grids with practiced ease. She slipped through a maintenance gap in the outer barrier, her heart racing with a mixture of adrenaline and curiosity. The human's architecture fascinated her with its brutal efficiency, so different from the flowing organic designs of Nexeran buildings. Every structure seemed designed for a specific purpose, with no wasted space or decorative elements. The laboratory complex stood apart from the main barracks, its windows glowing with the cold light of active research equipment. This was where the interesting developments were happening, where the humans were pushing the boundaries of their primitive but creative science. Zara had observed enough of their work to know they were developing some form of biological enhancement, though the specifics remained unclear. Finding an unlocked window on the building's eastern side, Zara slipped inside with practiced silence. The laboratory was a maze of equipment she recognized only partially. Centrifuges, molecular scanners, and synthesis chambers arranged in neat rows. But it was the secured storage unit against the far wall that drew her attention. Inside the climate-controlled cabinet, dozens of vials containing various colored liquids were arranged in precise rows. Most were labeled with human script she couldn't fully decipher, but one container stood out immediately. The liquid inside glowed with a deep crimson light, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The label read, Project Phoenix, Batch 12, and something about the substance's energy signature felt familiar, almost welcoming. Zara had been in the desert for hours, and the crash had left her dehydrated. Her throat burned with thirst, and the glowing liquid reminded her of the energy supplements her people consumed during long space flights. The container felt warm in her hands, and the crimson glow seemed to intensify as she held it. Without fully considering the consequences, she broke the seal and drank the entire contents in one desperate gulp. The liquid burned going down, tasting of copper and electricity, but it immediately quenched her thirst. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a slow fire building in her veins, Zara felt something fundamental begin to change. Lieutenant Marcus Torres had always trusted his instincts. After 8 years of military service and 2 tours overseas, he'd learned to recognize when something was wrong. Tonight, as he conducted his routine perimeter check around Fortress Meridian, that familiar feeling gnawed at his gut like a persistent ache. The plasma storm had finally begun to subside, leaving the desert air thick with the smell of ozone and scorched sand. Marcus adjusted his night vision goggles and continued his patrol, his boots crunching softly on the gravel pathway that circled the research complex. The base was on high alert due to reports of a possible meteorite impact in the area. Though nothing had shown up on their tracking system's dot, it was the soft whimpering that made him stop. The sound was barely audible over the wind, but Marcus had exceptional hearing, honed by years of combat experience. He clicked off his radio and moved toward the source of the noise, his hand instinctively resting on his sidearm. Behind a cluster of storage containers near the laboratory building, he found her. The young woman was curled into a tight ball, her body trembling violently despite the desert's lingering heat. Even in the dim light, Marcus could see that something was seriously wrong. Her skin had an unusual pallor, almost luminescent, and seemed to be radiating heat like a fever patient. But it was her hair that made him pause, silver-white strands that seemed to catch and reflect light in impossible ways. "Miss, are you all right?" Marcus approached cautiously, holstering his weapon. The woman looked up at him with eyes that were definitely not human. They were a deep violet color, with pupils that dilated and contracted rapidly, as if struggling to focus. "Please," she gasped, her voice carrying a slight accent he couldn't place. "I'm burning up. Everything is on fire inside me." Marcus's training told him to call for backup immediately. This woman had clearly broken into a secure military facility, and protocol demanded her immediate detention. But something about her desperation, the genuine pain in her voice, made him hesitate. She didn't look like a threat. She looked like someone who needed help. "When did this start?" he asked, kneeling beside her while maintaining a safe distance. "What happened to you?" "I drank something," Zara managed between labored breaths. "From the laboratory. A red liquid. I was so thirsty, and it looked like—" She trailed off, realizing she was revealing too much. Marcus felt his heart sink. The research lab had been working on several classified projects, most of which involved experimental substances that were definitely not meant for human consumption. If this woman had ingested one of their prototypes, she could be in serious danger. "We need to get you to the medical bay," he said, reaching for his radio. But Zara grabbed his wrist with surprising strength, her touch burning hot against his skin. "No hospitals," she pleaded. "No doctors. They'll ask questions I can't answer. Please, just help me cool down. The heat is getting worse." Marcus studied her face, noting the way her skin seemed to pulse with an internal light. His instincts were screaming that this situation was far more complicated than a simple case of accidental poisoning. But looking into those violet eyes, seeing the genuine terror there, he made a decision that would change everything. "There's an emergency shower station behind the motor pool," he said quietly. "Cold water supply. Can you walk?" Zara nodded, struggling to her feet with Marcus's help. As they moved through the shadows between buildings, he noticed more details that didn't add up. Her movements were too graceful, too fluid for someone in obvious distress. Her breathing, while labored, followed a rhythm that didn't match human respiratory patterns. And despite her claims of burning up, she left no sweat stains on his uniform. When he supported her weight, the shower station was a simple concrete enclosure designed for decontamination emergencies. Marcus activated the cold water system and stepped back as Zara moved under the spray. The relief on her face was immediate and profound, steam rising from her skin as the water made contact. "Better?" Marcus asked, keeping watch for other patrol units. "Much," Zara replied, though her voice still carried strain. "The burning is subsiding, but something else is happening. I can sense your emotions, your confusion, your concern for someone you don't even know. Why are you helping me?" Marcus paused, surprised by the accuracy of her observation. "Because you're in trouble, and I took an oath to protect people, even if those people might not be ... He stopped, studying her more carefully in the moonlight. "Human?" Zara finished for him, her violet eyes meeting his directly. "You're very perceptive, Lieutenant Torres. How do you know my name?" Marcus asked, though somehow he wasn't surprised that she did. "The serum you humans created," Zara explained, her voice growing stronger as the cooling water continued to flow over her. "Skin. Its enhanced abilities I already possessed. I can read the emotional resonance around your identification tags, sense the memories attached to your name. Your people's science is more powerful than you realize." Marcus felt the world shift around him as the implications of what she was saying began to sink in. "You're not from around here, are you?" Zara smiled sadly, water dripping from her silver hair. "No, Lieutenant. I'm very much not from around here. And thanks to your experimental serum, I may never make it home again." Dr. Helena Voss had seen many strange things during her 15-year career in military biochemistry, but nothing had prepared her for the call she received at 0347 hours. Lieutenant Torres's voice was tight with barely controlled panic as he explained the situation, speaking in the careful code phrases they used for containment scenarios. "Bring the portable diagnostic kit to Maintenance Shed 7, he had said. "We have a civilian who's had an adverse reaction to one of our compounds. No backup required yet, but come alone." Helena grabbed her emergency medical bag and drove across the base in her Jeep, her mind racing through the possibilities. Project Phoenix was her creation, designed to enhance human soldiers' reflexes and endurance during combat situations. The formula had shown promising results in computer simulations, but they were still months away from human trials. If someone had accessed the experimental batch ... She found Lieutenant Torres standing guard outside the maintenance building, his expression grim. "Doc, before you go in there, I need you to promise me something. Keep an open mind about what you're about to see." Helena nodded, though his words sent a chill down her spine. She'd worked with Marcus on several classified projects, and he wasn't prone to dramatics. If he was this concerned, the situation was serious. Inside the building, she found a young woman sitting on a metal crate, wrapped in military-issue blankets. At first glance, she appeared to be in her early 20s, with striking features and unusually pale skin that seemed to have a subtle luminescence. But as Helena moved closer with her diagnostic equipment, she began to notice details that made her scientific mind reel. "Hello," the woman said, her voice carrying a melodic quality that seemed almost hypnotic. "You must be Dr. Voss. I've been told you created the substance I accidentally consumed. How much of the serum did you ingest?" Helena asked, setting up her portable scanner while trying to maintain professional composure. "The entire container," Zara replied matter-of-factly. "It was labeled Batch 12, I believe. Red liquid with bioluminescent properties." Helena's hands froze on her equipment. "That's impossible. A full dose of that concentration would be lethal to a human. The cardiac strain alone would." She looked up into Zara's violet eyes and felt her breath catch. "You're not human, are you?" "No," Zara said simply. "I'm from a world you call Kepler 442b, though we know it as Nexera. My people have been observing your planet for some time, studying your technological development. I was conducting routine surveillance when my ship was damaged in the storm." Helena sat down heavily on a nearby stool, her scientific worldview crumbling and reforming in real time. This changes everything. The serum's effects on an alien physiology would be completely unpredictable. We need to run comprehensive tests immediately." "That's the problem, Doc," Marcus interjected. "The scans you're about to run? They're going to show some very unusual results. Results that are going to raise questions we might not be ready to answer." Helena activated her diagnostic scanner, watching as the readings began to populate on her tablet screen. Zara's vital signs were unlike anything in medical literature. Her core body temperature was fluctuating between 103 and 107 degrees Fahrenheit, but she showed no signs of hyperthermia. Her heart rate was elevated but stable, beating in a rhythm that didn't match human cardiac patterns. Most concerning of all, her cellular activity was off the charts. "The serum is causing a cascade reaction in your metabolism," Helena explained, studying the data with growing alarm. "Your body is processing the enhancement compounds at an accelerated rate, but instead of improving physical performance, it's creating a thermal buildup. Essentially, you're generating more heat than your cooling systems can handle. Is it dangerous?" Zara asked, though she seemed more curious than concerned. "For a human, it would be fatal within hours," Helena replied honestly. "For you, I honestly don't know. Your biology is so different from ours that I can't predict the long-term effects. The serum was designed to enhance human cellular efficiency, but in your system, it might be creating a feedback loop that could lead to complete thermal breakdown." Marcus stepped forward. "What can we do to help her?" Helena was quiet for a long moment, running calculations in her head. "The cooling treatments are just managing symptoms. We need to neutralize the serum itself, but that requires understanding how her alien biology processes foreign compounds. Without detailed knowledge of her species' biochemistry, any antidote I create could make things worse. Then we need to work together," Zara said, standing despite the blankets. "My ship's medical database contains detailed information about Nexeran physiology. If we can access it, we might be able to find a solution." "Your ship?" Helena asked, her excitement overriding her caution. "You have a spacecraft? With alien technology?" "Crashed about 2 miles northwest of here," Marcus confirmed. "But it's damaged, and we'd need to retrieve it without alerting the rest of the base." Helena looked between them, realizing she was at a crossroads that would define the rest of her career, and possibly human history. She could follow protocol, report the incident, and watch as Zara became a government test subject. Or she could take an unprecedented risk and help save the life of the first confirmed extraterrestrial visitor to Earth. "We'll need to move fast," she said finally. "The thermal buildup is accelerating. If we're going to save her, we have maybe 12 hours before the reaction becomes irreversible." The pre-dawn desert was eerily quiet, as Marcus drove the modified jeep across the rough terrain, following the coordinates Zara had provided. Dr. Voss sat in the passenger seat, her emergency medical kit bouncing on her lap, while Zara huddled. In the back seat, under cooling blankets they'd rigged with battery-powered fans. There, Zara pointed toward a cluster of rocks, where the faint glimmer of twisted metal caught the moonlight. My ship. Marcus had seen plenty of aircraft wreckage during his military career, but nothing had prepared him for the sight of Zara's vessel. The craft was unlike anything in human aerospace engineering, sleek and organic-looking, as if it had been grown rather than built. Its hull was a dark, iridescent material that seemed to absorb light, and despite the obvious damage from the crash, it retained an otherworldly beauty. The medical bay is in the rear section, Zara explained, though her voice was growing weaker. The cooling treatments were becoming less effective, and Helena's scans showed that her cellular temperature was continuing to rise despite their efforts. Inside the ship, Marcus felt like he was stepping into the future. The corridors were lined with softly glowing panels that responded to their presence, and the air had a clean, oxygenated quality that made his lungs feel more efficient. Everything was designed for being slightly smaller and more graceful than humans, but the technology was clearly centuries ahead of Earth's capabilities. The medical database is here, Zara said, activating a console that projected holographic displays into the air. The symbols and diagrams that appeared were incomprehensible to Marcus, but Helena was studying them with intense fascination. Incredible, the scientist whispered. The detail level of these anatomical charts. This is showing cellular structure at the molecular level. If I can understand how your metabolic processes work, I might be able to design a compound that neutralizes the serum without harming you. While Helena worked with the alien medical data, Marcus found himself studying Zara more closely. The enhancement serum had affected more than just her physical condition. Her empathic abilities seemed to be growing stronger by the hour. She'd been reading his emotions with increasing accuracy, sometimes responding to thoughts he hadn't even voiced. You're wondering if this is how first contact was supposed to happen, Zara said softly, her violet eyes meeting his. You're thinking about all the science fiction stories you read as a child, imagining peaceful meetings between species. This isn't exactly what those stories promised, is it? Marcus smiled despite the gravity of their situation. Not exactly. Most of those stories didn't involve experimental military serums and potential alien medical emergencies. My people have protocols for first contact scenarios, Zara continued, her voice taking on a distant quality. Careful observation periods, cultural preparation, gradual introduction of concepts. This situation, it's exactly what we were trying to avoid. But maybe it's what we needed, Marcus said, surprising himself with the observation. No politics, no governments, no military hierarchies. Just three people trying to solve a problem together. Helena looked up from the medical console, her face flushed with excitement and exhaustion. I think I understand the issue. Your species metabolizes energy completely differently from humans. A serum is designed to enhance cellular efficiency. In human biology, but in your system, it's creating a runaway fusion reaction at the mitochondrial level. Your cells are literally burning themselves out, trying to process the enhancement compounds. Can you stop it? Marcus asked. I think so, but I'll need to synthesize an antidote using both human biochemistry and Nexarin cellular regulators. The problem is, some of the compounds I need aren't available on Earth. They're specific to your homeworld's ecosystem. Zara struggled. To her feet, moving to another section of the ship's medical bay. Emergency medical supplies, she explained, opening a storage compartment filled with crystalline containers. These are broad-spectrum cellular stabilizers from Nexara. They're designed to help our people adapt to different planetary environments during exploration missions. Helena examined the alien compounds with growing hope. These might work. If I can combine them with a human-synthesized neutralizing agent, it's theoretical, but it's our best chance. As they worked together, combining human scientific knowledge with alien technology, Marcus found himself marveling at the unprecedented cooperation taking place. Three beings from different worlds, united by a common goal, pushing the boundaries of what either species thought possible. "There's something else," Zara said as Helena prepared the antidote mixture. "The serum hasn't just enhanced my empathic abilities, it's created a connection between us. I can sense both of your emotional states, your memories, your fundamental personalities. In Nexaran culture, such connections are considered sacred. They create bonds that transcend individual existence." Marcus felt a strange warmth in his chest, as if something fundamental had shifted in his understanding of the universe. "What does that mean?" "It means that whatever happens next, we're linked," Zara replied. "Your futures are now intertwined with mine, just as mine is with yours. The serum may have been an accident, but the connection it's created, that's something unprecedented in the history of both our species." Helena looked up from her work, holding a syringe filled with an iridescent blue liquid. "The antidote is ready. But Zara, I need you to know, this is completely experimental. I have no idea what the side effects might be." Zara nodded, extending her arm. "I trust you both. And I trust the connection we've formed. Whatever happens, we face it together." The antidote worked slowly, like a cool tide washing away a raging fire. Marcus watched as the dangerous luminescence in Zara's skin gradually faded to a soft, natural glow, and her labored breathing eased into the rhythmic pattern he'd learned was normal for her species. Dr. Helena Voss monitored the readings on both her human medical equipment and the alien diagnostic systems, her face showing cautious optimism for the first time in hours. "The thermal cascade is reversing," Helena reported, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. "Cellular temperature is dropping to stable levels, and the metabolic feedback loop is breaking down. I think we did it." Zara sat up slowly, testing her body's responses. The burning sensation that had threatened to consume her from within was finally subsiding, replaced by a gentle warmth that felt natural and manageable. But something else had changed as well. The intense empathic connection she'd developed with Marcus and Helena was evolving, becoming less overwhelming and more integrated. "How do you feel?" Marcus asked, relief evident in his voice. "Different," Zara replied thoughtfully. "The serum's effects are neutralized, but the neural pathways it created, those seem to be permanent. I can still sense both of your emotional states, but it's no longer painful or intrusive. It's like having a quiet conversation in the background of my mind." Helena was studying the readouts from both the human and Nexaran medical equipment. Fascinating. The antidote didn't just neutralize the serum. It seems to have stabilized the enhancement effects at a sustainable level. "You've retained some of the augmented abilities without the dangerous side effects." Outside the ship, the first rays of dawn were beginning to illuminate the desert landscape. Marcus knew that soon the base would be conducting expanded search patterns for the missing experimental serum and the intruder who had taken it. They had decisions to make, and not much time to make them. "What happens now?" he asked, voicing the question they were all thinking. Zara stood and walked to one of the ship's viewing ports, looking out at the alien world she'd been observing for months. "According to Nexaran protocol, I should repair my ship, return home, and report that. This world is not ready for contact. This incident would be classified as an unfortunate accident, and Earth would remain under passive observation for another century or more." "But," Helena prompted, sensing there was more. "But the connection we've formed changes everything," Zara continued. "Through the serum's effects, I've experienced human emotion and reasoning in ways no Nexaran ever has. And both of you have worked with alien technology and biology as if it were natural. We've proven that cooperation between our species is not only possible, it's beneficial for both sides. Marcus nodded slowly. You're talking about changing the entire first contact scenario. I'm talking about partnership, Zara said, turning back to face them. My ship's communications array can be repaired, but not quickly. I'll need several weeks to synthesize replacement components using both human and Nexran materials. During that time, you'd be here, Helena finished, her scientific mind already racing with possibilities. Working with U.S., sharing knowledge, preparing both species for eventual formal contact. It would have to be secret, Marcus added, his military training asserting itself, at least initially. Too many people knowing too quickly could cause panic or exploitation. Zara smiled, the expression made more beautiful by the subtle bioluminescence that remained in her features. My people have a saying, the strongest bridges are built one stone at a time. Perhaps that's how we should approach this, carefully, thoughtfully, but with genuine commitment to building something lasting. Helena was already making notes. On her tablet, I have a private research facility about 50 miles from here. It's isolated, well-equipped, and completely off the books. We could set up a proper laboratory there, one designed for both human and Nexran physiology. And I can arrange for extended leave, Marcus added. Officially, I'll be conducting security assessments for remote installations. Unofficially, ... Unofficially, you'll be humanity's first ambassador to an alien species, Zara said, her empathic abilities picking up on his mixture of excitement and trepidation. It won't be easy. There will be challenges neither of our species can anticipate. Helena looked up from her notes. The serum that started all this, we should probably develop some safety protocols for future interactions. The biological compatibility issues alone ... will require extensive research and cooperation, Zara agreed. But that's what we're building here, isn't it? A foundation for understanding between worlds. As they worked together to prepare Zara's ship for the journey to Helena's facility, Marcus reflected on how dramatically his life had changed in the span of a single night. 12 hours ago, he'd been a security officer conducting routine patrols. Now, he was part of the most significant event in human history, and it had begun with a simple decision to help someone in need. No regrets? Zara asked, her enhanced empathy picking up on his contemplative mood. Marcus looked at her, then at Helena, who was already deep in planning mode, sketching designs for hybrid human Nexran laboratory equipment. None at all. Sometimes. The most important journeys begin with the most unexpected steps. Zara nodded, touching the spot on her arm where Helena had administered the antidote. The crimson serum nearly killed me, but it also created something beautiful, a bridge between worlds that neither of our species thought possible. Perhaps that's worth celebrating. As the sun rose fully over the Nevada desert, 3 beings from different worlds worked side by side, building the foundation for a future none of them could have imagined just hours before. The accidental consumption of an experimental serum had become the first step toward something unprecedented in galactic history, true partnership between species, born not from treaties or conquests, but from the simple human impulse to help someone in need. And in Helena's private laboratory, far from military oversight and political complications, that partnership would grow into something that would eventually change both worlds forever.